Day 1, I started my journey on this mushroom island. No trees spawn on this island, so the first step to making my first set of tools was finding a mineshaft in a cave to get wood. I didn't choose a seed for this. I used a biome finder and chose the biggest mushroom island I could see on the map. Luckily for me, it happened to have a giant cave with a mineshaft in it visible from the surface. I went down and gathered some logs to make my first set of tools, knowing this would be my only source of wood until a wandering trader appeared with a sapling, and there's a very real chance that that won't happen even in 100 days. By the time I emerged from the cave, the sun had already began to set on day 1. This is because the first half of day 1 was spent actually finding an island big enough, which I kept the world loaded in for, which wasted half of a day. Now that it was nighttime, I decided to scour the coastline for useful things, and I actually found some stuff. The first one was this fishing rod I got from killing a drowned. The next thing I found was actually some grass and some grass blocks. Now, I could use this to get seeds later on once I got bone meal, which I would have to get from fishing. And speaking of fishing, that was the next thing that I did. I fished all the way until morning, and you better get used to me fishing because I'm pretty sure I spent more time fishing than I spent doing everything else combined. On day 2, I fished until the fishing rod I stole broke, and then I went into the cave and got some string to make another fishing rod just so I can keep fishing. I fished all the way until the night of day 2, and I only stopped because I was interrupted by a wandering trader. Unfortunately, he didn't have any saplings to trade me, but I still could give him some milk buckets for some emeralds. So I took a break from fishing on day 2 in order to go mining until day 3. When I emerged from the cave, the wandering trader had decided to vanish, but I had iron now. Not that I need it. Mobs can't spawn. What does it even matter? At least I can go back to fishing now. Later in day 3, I decided to go and get more wood, so I turned off the spawners and ended up collecting 42 logs. I wouldn't get much more than this for the rest of the playthrough. On day 4, I started mining stone to build a house. I couldn't exactly make it out of wood, because if wood was money, I would be in prison for murdering many people. I also mined plenty of andesite and diorite for my house. I didn't end up using most of the diorite, probably because it's the worst block in the game. Day 5, I made the outline of what I wanted my house to look like. By nighttime, I had started building up the walls, but pretty quickly I realized I didn't have anywhere near enough andesite, so it was back to the mines for me. I spent all night mining andesite, and on day 6, I went back up because my pickaxe broke. I spent the rest of day 6 building my house, and then on day 7, I made a separate iron bucket so that I could get some water. I couldn't waste the milk bucket just in case that trader came back. I also made some floors and the walls to the rooms on day 7. I then made a bed that I quite literally never used even once through this entire playthrough. Day 8, I was back in the andesite mines. I'm gonna have to go iron mining again pretty soon because of all the iron pickaxes I keep burning through making this house. I also ran out of food while I was in the mines, so I had to go fishing again. Woe is me. By the night of day 8, I was back in the mines again. This time, I was mining stone, not andesite, but that did not stop me from breaking another pickaxe. On day 9, the only time I didn't spend mining stone was when I went to get coal to refill my furnace for smooth stone. Of course, I broke another pickaxe while I was doing this. The morning of day 10, I was back to mining andesite. Later in the day, I broke an iron pickaxe while mining iron to fund my iron pickaxes. Day 11, I was down in the mines getting some deep slate for my roof. The next day, I took a break from mining deep slate to go get the rest of the wood out of the mine shaft. When I got back up to the surface, I realized that the deep slate I smelted was all wasted because you can't make deep slate into bricks. You need cobbled deep slate. It's the opposite of stone. How was I supposed to know that? Anyways, that night I was back in the deep slate mines because I wasted all of it. Day 13 I started making my roof, but I ran out of deep slate the same day, so I had to go back down. The same exact thing happened on day 14, except when I had to go back down, it was for andesite, not deep slate. Day 15, I finished the inside of the roof. Then I broke another pickaxe while mining stone for the tower. Day 16 started off with me breaking another pickaxe. Later on, I fished up a bone, so I went and expanded the grass area so I could use it more efficiently. On day 17, I broke a pickaxe while mining deep slate. And on day 18, I broke a pickaxe while mining deep slate. On day 19, I finished my tower and therefore completed my entire house. I am never changing it. That evening, I went down and finally got some diamonds from the cave. I didn't exactly have to battle any mobs for it. The only reason I haven't done it yet is because I wanted a house. My plan was to get a Fortune 3 pickaxe before I mined the rest of the diamonds, so I needed 3 for the diamond pickaxe for the obsidian and 2 for the enchantment table. The next morning I started a sugarcane farm, and then I went to go collect the seeds from the shore. In order to make farmland, I had to turn all of the mycelium into path blocks because you can't till mycelium. On day 21, I started turning the spawner in the mineshaft into a spider farm. Unfortunately, I ran out of food halfway through doing this, so I had to go up and fish. In the morning, I expanded the sugarcane farm, and then I made 2 cow pens because I realized now that I have wheat, I can actually farm the mushrooms and the regular cows. On the night of day 22, I descended into the cave and slightly more into madness to continue making the spider farm. By day 23, I had finished the spider farm. The last thing I needed for level 30 enchants was enough leather to make all the bookcases, so I enacted the Great Mushroom Massacre at dawn, and after that, I finally had nothing else to do but fish and wait for my sugarcane to grow. Those of you who are not on your phone right now may have realized that the day counter just went from 23 to 27. That's right, I spent 5 days fishing. To give me at least some credit, I was waiting for the sugarcane the entire time and had nothing else to do but fish and expand the wheat farm. Also, it didn't actually take until day 27, it took until day 29. The final thing stopping me from enchanting was that I didn't have any lapis, so I got some lapis and then I started enchanting. Most of my enchants were getting pretty unlucky, so I decided to make a pond on day 30 down there so I could fish for XP while waiting for the spider farm to refill. Day 31 I finally saw the Fortune 3 enchant in the enchantment table, and by that evening I had gotten it on my pickaxe. Day 32 I went mining with my new shiny pickaxe. I got a ton of diamonds, and then I got books later in the day to help me with my maxed out gear. I spent the entire day on day 33 fishing and farming spiders for XP to keep rolling the table, and I ended up getting this really good pair of pants. On day 34 I spent the entire day grinding XP. I also made this armor stand to hold my set of diamond. It almost makes me forget how broke I am. Day 35 I got my grubby little hands on a new sharp sword and it helped me farm XP a lot faster. Day 36 I decided to keep blast protection 4 on my helmet because I'm about as likely to be blown up as I am to be hit by any other mob in this biome. Day 37 I finally got feather falling 4 on a pair of boots, but it unfortunately came with blast protection 4. Luckily I had another pair of boots on hand, but unfortunately it only had prot 3, not prot 4. I never fixed this because I don't care. I spent all of day 38 grinding XP and only took a break to make the pond bigger. I finally got my chest plate by the end of day 39. Unfortunately, I was burning through lapis fast, so all of day 40 I spent grinding XP and rolling enchants, but I ran out of lapis. So on day 41, I went mining for lapis. By the end of day 41, I had managed to get 4 stacks of lapis. On day 42, I had at long last gotten my full set of diamond armor, so I could finally leave the hole that I've been squatting in for the past 20 days. On day 43, the insanity started getting to me, so I decided to go make a small fishing hut on the other side of the island to go on vacation. I spent all of day 44 doing my favorite activity, fishing, and I ended up getting a feather falling 4 book, which would have been useful about 20 days ago. On day 45 another wandering trader came. He didn't have any saplings, but at least I could give him a water bucket for some emeralds. Later on day 45 I decided to make a cobblestone path leading from my fishing hut to my main base. I also murdered that wandering trader for his llamas as I was walking by, because if I didn't kill him, his llamas would have despawned with him. I continued working on the path until day 46, and nearly broke my pickaxe while collecting cobblestone for it. I repaired my pickaxe by combining it with another pickaxe that had Unbreaking 3 on it and named it Pymandax. Day 47 I finished the path and then went down to the cave to try and get a better fishing rod to hopefully be able to fish up mending books to put on all my gear. I spent all day on day 48 grinding XP to try and get back to level 30. By day 49 I made it there, but when I put the enchant on the rod, I unfortunately got terribly unlucky. I spent all of day 50 grinding XP to be able to get another enchant on a rod. I got unlucky again, but realized that I'd be able to combine the rods to get something better. I lost my mind when I realized that they would need 30 levels to be able to combine, and ended up just going up to do something else. I ended up wasting a bunch of my wheat trying to breed the llamas because I didn't realize I had to tame them in order for them to breed. Day 52 I also made the llamas a pen. I wrote in the notes that I made it small because I'm evil. On day 53 I had to accept the reality that there's no more logs left in the mine shaft, and I ended up fishing for the rest of the day. I caught a rod, but it was worse than the one I already had. Day 54 I wish that I spent less time making gear and more time fishing because the real 100 days was the fish we caught along the way.